if you are naming carboxylic acid, you still use the same standard IUPAC rules, okay? But the suffix for carboxylic acids, it is always anoic acid. That is the suffix. Always is an anoic acid no matter what. You never indicate the position of the carboxyl group because it is always 1. It is always found on carbon 1. No matter what you do, the functional group of a carboxylic acid will always be found on carbon 1. So I will never find something like pentan 2-oic acid. No, that's wrong. Okay, so I don't expect to see any numbers or positions of the functional group in a carboxylic acid. So let's look at example 1, having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 carbons in total. Are we gonna number from left to right or from right to left? Yes, Matlodi?
Right to left.
Right to left, because we wanna be closer to this carboxyl group. This is our carboxyl group, okay? So we are going to name from right to left, because if you're gonna name from left to right, that's gonna be incorrect, because we're gonna say this is carbon 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this will be wrong. You cannot have your carboxyl group on carbon number 5. You need to make sure that your carboxyl group, it sits on carbon number 1 no matter what happens. So this means that this is our carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, and carbon 5. My question is here, guys, do we have any substituent at this point? Do we have any substituent?
Oh.
No, we don't have any substituent.
No.
We only have,
No.
yes, we only have a functional group. So this is a carboxylic acid having 5 carbon atoms. So the root name there will be pentan. Pentan. What did I say to you guys about the AN? What is the AN for? What is the AN for?
Saturated.
Saturated. So we can see that between, yes, saturated, between the carbons of this carboxylic acid, we only have single bonds. We will never have anything else. So this AN from the name, it already tells us that this is what? This is saturated. This is a saturated compound. For carboxylic acids, they're always saturated. So guys, will it be correct for me to say pentan-1-oic acid? Something like this. Is it correct? Is this the correct IUPAC name? What is the wrong thing about the name?
It's because you have indicated a number and they say we do not indicate the position of that. But again, we have indicated the number and they say we don't. Yes, we don't mention the number on the functional groups.
Exactly. You should never mention it because it's always on carbon 1. It will never change its position. If you are numbering correctly, the carboxyl group will always be on carbon number 1. So that's why this is pentanoic acid. So to make things simpler, we're just gonna say that the suffix for the carboxylic acids, it is what? It is anoic acid, this anoic acid. That's why we just say that is the suffix always. You will never have a scenario or a case whereby you're gonna have pentan-2-oic acid. No, because the carboxyl group, the functional group for carboxylic acids, will always be on carbon 1. What about B? What about B? Give the name of B. Let's see, what is the name of B? Yes, Tahazo?
It's ethanoic acid, sir.
This is ethanoic acid. This is ethanoic acid. Have you guys ever heard of where ethanoic acid is found? Okay. Ethanoic acid, yes, on vinegar. So ethanoic acid is one of the compounds that make up your vinegar. The vinegar that you use for French fries or your chips. Depends on wherever you are in South Africa. Others call them French fries, others call them chips, others call them whatever. But basically, ethanoic acid is a compound that is found inside vinegar. Yes, Sam?
So what is the difference between ethanol and ethanoic?
Between?
Ethanol and ethanoic, sir.
Ethanol. Ethanol is an aldehyde. Ethanol is an aldehyde, but ethanoic acid, it is a carboxylic acid. both of them, they've got 2 carbons in their parent chain, just like this one. We say that is ethanoic acid because we had 2 carbons in the parent chain. Okay, but because this is a carboxylic acid, we have to have this suffix anoic acid at the end of the day. At the end of the name, it must be anoic acid. But if you find something like this, ethanol, this is an aldehyde. But we're still gonna do the naming of aldehydes. Are we clear, guys?
Okay, sir.
Yes.
Yes.
So this is ethanoic acid. And then, now what if we have a branch? Say we have a branch now. Nothing will change. If the carboxylic acid is a branch or any substituents, you still follow the same rules, but you indicate the position of the branch. You must only indicate the position of the what? Of the branch, not of the functional group, because for carboxylic acid, the functional group is always on carbon number 1. So this one is a condensed formula. It is not properly structural. You need to change it into a structural formula first so that you can see the bonds properly. Because if you just guess the name from here, some of you will get it wrong. This is CH3, this is CH2, and then this is C, and this is CH, right? And then this is bonded to CH3, which is a methyl group. This is CH3, you guys can see that. And then this is bonded to C, which is double bonded to O, which is single bonded to OH. So now we have got a branch, which is our methyl group. So we need to consider now the position of this methyl group. Where is it found? Which is the right way of counting? Are we going to count from left to right or from right to left? Yes, Mahlodi?
Right to left.
Right to left. This is going to be carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, and carbon 4. Okay, so essentially you see that on carbon 2 you've got this side chain, which is 1 carbon. So it is a methyl group because it's 1 carbon and 3 hydrogens. So you're going to say that on carbon number 2 in the parent chain, we're having a methyl group. But this is a carboxylic acid having 4 carbons. So that's butanoic acid. You don't indicate the position of the functional group because it is always on carbon 1. So now I want you guys to tell me something as we're going to a break, right? I will remove this numbering. This is the correct numbering, of course. And then I will reform a new parent chain. And I'll say that this is my parent chain because it also has got 4 carbons, just like the first one that we identified. So you guys will tell me, is the name still going to be the same if I consider this to be my parent chain? That is the question. You guys will do it on the 10 minutes break. And, before the break, guys, I told you, I gave you a task to find out, is this the parent chain of this compound? Is this the parent chain? Is this the parent chain? What did you guys say? Because I saw some messages in the group.
No, sir.
Why is it not a parent chain?
No, sir, it's not a parent. Because the parent chain needs to include the functional groups.
Yes. So the parent chain, number 1, it must have the highest number of carbons. In this case, this one still has got 4 carbons, but yeah, it is the highest. But now the parent chain must also have the carbon that is bearing the functional group. In this case, if we highlight our chain in this way, do you see that, guys? The carbon that is having the carboxyl group, this carbon, it is kind of excluded, is now a side chain. We can never make the functional group the side chain. That's impossible. That's impossible. That's impossible. So basically, this cannot be the parent chain no matter what, because it still has got 4 carbons, yes, just like the initial one, but it can never be the parent chain because it doesn't consist of the carbon that has got the functional group. So this has to be the only parent chain possible. Do you guys see that?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Yes,
what about B? Let's just try to name B. We have got CH3 here, then we have got CH2, which is a carbon bonded to 2 hydrogens, then we have got CH, then we have got bonded to a CH3 there, You can be naming it in the meantime while I am writing the complete structural formula. CH2, and then this is C double bond O bonded to OH. Give the name of this compound. Give the name of the compound. Yes, Matlodi.
3-methyl
3-methyl
hyphen no, sorry, it's a mistake. 3-methyl pentanoic acid.
Pentanoic acid. So you only indicate the number of the branch. So you basically number your carbons from this one that is bearing the functional group, because this is the functional group, the carboxyl group. So you number your carbons from this carbon bearing the carboxyl group. So this is carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5. You realize that since this is your parent chain, it is made up of these two, we have got another carbon that is not part of this chain, or another carbon that is kind of protruding out of the chain, and it's one carbon bonded to 3 hydrogens. So this is a methyl group. You guys already now know that this is methyl group. So this is 3-methyl. It's found on carbon 3, right? And then it is pentanoic acid. On the pentanoic acid, never indicate that the carboxyl group is found on carbon 1. Never indicate that, because the functional group for carboxylic acid, it will always be on carbon 1. Are we clear?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
Yes.
What about this one? Give the name of this compound. Give the name of this compound. I will be just writing it here. Okay, what's the name, Matlodi?
2 hyphen methyl
What?
butanoic acid.
2-butanoic acid.
2-ethyl butanoic acid.
Okay, so it's 2-ethyl
Ethyl
butanoic acid. Butanoic acid. You guys do see where the name is coming from, right? Or do I need to rewrite the structural formula again? Do you all guys see where Matlodi is getting the name?
Yes, sir.
C double bond O bonded to O bonded to H, and then this is bonded to C, H2 bonded to C, H3, like this. So who will dare say that this is the longest chain, this is the parent chain? Who will dare say this? Because you see that it has got more carbons. It has got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It has got more carbons than any other chain that you can make here. Would you dare say that? Would you dare say that this is the parent chain?
No.
Give a reason why.
Because we must have the attachment of the functional group.
Yes, the functional group must be attached to a carbon in the parent chain. So in this case, you can see that our functional group is that of a carboxylic acid. That is a carbon double bond oxygen, and the same carbon is bonded to an OH. It's just that we just wrote it in another way, but it's still the same carbon double bond oxygen bonded to an OH. But it's just that we wrote it like a upside down or something like that. That is why it might look weird. But basically, this is your what? This is your carboxyl group. So this carbon that has got the carboxyl group must be your carbon number 1. So if you highlight any other parent chain like this one that doesn't involve the carbon bearing the carboxyl group, then it's wrong. Even though it has got more carbons, it's still wrong. Do you guys get the sense? Are you guys hearing me or what?
We hear you, sir.
Yes, we can hear you, sir. We hear you very well.
Awesome. So this is your parent chain, no matter what happens. We don't care that it only has got 4 carbons and that other one has got 5 carbons. That doesn't matter anymore. The number doesn't matter if there is no functional group in that particular chain. If there is no functional group in that particular chain, it can never be the parent chain. So this has to always be carbon 1. This will be carbon 2. This carbon 3. This carbon 4. So we already know that our name will have a butane. That butane there, it is for a saturated. But we'll say it's a carboxylic acid, just say butanoic acid. There's no need to mention the position of the functional group because it's always on carbon 1. Is that clear, guys? Let's name the first carboxylic acid. This carboxylic acid, what is its name? Yes, Matlodi?
Methanoic acid.
Nope, it's not methanoic acid. It can never be methanoic acid. How many carbons are we having here, guys?
2. Oh, 2 carbon.
Yes, it's like 2 carbons. This OOH is a double bond oxygen, a single bond oxygen with a hydrogen. Then this is CH3. So you can see, guys, that this is ethanoic acid. So this is your ethanoic acid. What about the next compound? How can we name the next compound? Let's rewrite the structural formula because you guys may not see it from here. Okay, guys, are you able to identify that this is a carboxylic acid just from the condensed formula without writing the structural formula? Can you see that this is a carboxylic acid?
Yes, sir.
Yes.
How do you see?
Cool.
Yes, the cool there, the COOH. Whenever you see the COOH in a condensed formula, it means that one is for a carboxylic acid. That is what I told you guys when we were introducing this compound. So that's COOH. That means this is a what? Carboxylic acid. So now we're just gonna rewrite the structure as CH3. So it's a carbon bonded to 3 hydrogens. And then this CH2-3, let's talk about this for a moment. This CH2-3, it's in a bracket as well, but how do we construct that?
So it's just showing that we have CH2 times 3.
Yes.
When I have CH2, yes.
CH2. These are not branches, guys. The branch, the minimum branch that you can have is a CH3. Once you see a CH3 inside the bracket, this is definitely a branch known as a methyl group. When you see a CH3, CH2 in the bracket, it means that this is a what? This is an ethyl group, as we already said. But this CH2, it simply means that we are having consecutive carbons that are bonded to 2 hydrogens. We're just having carbons that are following each other, and each carbon is bonded to 2 hydrogens. And how many are there in total? There are 3. So this is more like this is CH2. There are 3 of them, and all of them, they are bonded to this carbon. Kind of makes the sense in that way. So this CH2-3, you guys must know how to interpret it. Okay, now after that, what follows? We follow with the C, right? And this C is bonded to an H. But now we have got a CH3 in the bracket. What can we do about that? Yes, Sam?
It means it's
a branch, sir.
It is a branch, right? What is the name of the branch?
Methyl, sir.
Methyl. So it means that we've got a methyl branch there attached to this carbon. So it's a methyl branch attached to this carbon. And then after that, we've got what? We've got a C. This COOH, that's your functional group for carboxylic acid. It's a carbon. It has got 2 oxygens. One of them takes a double bond, another one takes a single bond, then a hydrogen. This is how you make it. Now name the compound then. Yes, Mahlodi.
2-methyl.
2-methyl, yes.
Hexanoic acid.
Hexanoic acid. Are there 6 carbons, guys, in the longest chain?
Yes.
Yes, because this is like 1. Your first carbon will be the one having the carboxyl group. This will be 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. If you choose yet to involve this carbon as part of the parent chain and do something like this will not be the parent chain, because this carbon having the functional group cannot be side chain. It must be part of the parent chain, and for carboxylic acid it must be carbon number 1 no matter what. So this is 2-methyl hexanoic acid. Is this clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Quickly name C, then D. You will do it on your own. What is the name of C? Yes, Mahlodi.
2-dimethyl propanoic acid.
Propanoic acid. Do you guys all see that? Are you guys all able to see that this is 2-dimethyl propanoic acid?
Yes, sir.
Yes. If you cannot see it, guys, you rewrite your structural formula showing all the bonds. You may say it's time consuming, but it's very necessary because you're going to write the wrong things here. Show all the bonds. If it's a CH3, write a carbon having 3 hydrogens bonded to it. This is CH3 again. And then this is now a C. This COOH, how to interpret it, is a carbon double bonded to an oxygen and single bonded to another oxygen having a hydrogen. But there must be 4 total bonds on this carbon. Like it must be 1, 2, 3, 4. Do you guys see that? And then on your this is your carbon 1. By default, this is carbon 1 because it is the one having the functional group, the carboxyl group. This is carbon 2. This is carbon 3. So this must be a propanoic acid. And on carbon 2, we're having 2 branches, which is all methyl groups. We're having a methyl group here, up here. This is a methyl. Down here, this is also a methyl. So this is 2-dimethyl. It's wrong. What is wrong here? How do we write it correctly? How to write it correctly, guys? There's something wrong there.
There isn't it 2,2 dimethyl.
Yes, it's 2,2 dimethyl. Don't just say 2-dimethyl. We know that these methyl groups, they are found on the same carbon, but indicate with the 2,2 so that it clearly shows that you're having 2 of them. I'll repeat the 2 again. 2,2 dimethyl propanoic acid. So D, you will do it on your own. So you'll do D on your own, then you give me the answer, just like the usual way. And then, okay, do you see the D, guys? You can take pictures or take a screenshot or something, but this one, you will do it on your own, then you give the answer. Are you guys clear? Are we clear, guys?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, last thing that we're gonna do is the naming of aldehydes. Yeah, so for today, we're gonna end the naming of aldehydes. Then we'll come back. I don't know if we're gonna come back today. I will still decide. But aldehydes, guys, the simplest ones to name. You just follow the same IUPAC rules. Follow the standard IUPAC rules just as you've been doing all along. But you should never indicate the position of the functional group. Never indicate the position of the functional group. Why is that? The position of the functional group, it is always 1, just like the carboxylic acids that we just did right now, guys. When we are naming aldehydes, when we are naming aldehydes, basically you should make sure that you don't indicate the position of the functional group. So for aldehydes, what is the name of the functional group?
Formyl.
Yes, the formyl group. So it's a carbon double bonded to oxygen and also bonded to a hydrogen. This is the formyl group. So you always make the carbon on the formyl group to be carbon number 1. This will be carbon 2. This will be carbon 3. So basically the functional group is always found on the first carbon. So in this way, we're having 3 carbons. We don't have any substituents because this double bond oxygen is a functional group, not a substituent. You guys can now see that. So now we can say that this is what? This is propanal. So the suffix that we use for aldehydes, it is anal. This anal. It is the suffix that we use. And you guys will tell me, what is the AN for? What does the AN stand for there?
Saturated.
Yes, it is saturated. All the carbons, they are separated by single bonds. It is saturated. So this is propanal. What about B? Give the name of B using the same rules. What's the name of B, guys? Quickly. Yes, Mahludi.
Butanal.
This is butanal. So your functional group, which is the formyl group in this case, it is always on carbon 1. So you don't have to say butan 1-al, no, because always it is on carbon 1, so there's no need to. So this is butanal. What about C? What about C? Name of C, anyone? Yes, Matlodi.
Pentanal.
Pentanal. So this is how you write the structural formula completely. This is the structural formula. You guys, I'm sure now you guys are not confused on how to convert the condensed formula to a structural formula. So basically here you are having this as your carbon 1. Always this is your carbon 1 because it is the one having the formyl group, the carbon double bond oxygen with the H. Then this is carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, and carbon 5. So in total, this will give us pentanal. Don't say pentan 1-al. No, this is pentanal. Okay, guys, now I want to ask you, this is a condensed formula, right? This is a structural condensed formula. Can you identify that this is an aldehyde just from this formula? Without drawing the structural formula, can you see that this is an aldehyde?
Yes.
Yes.
How do you say them?
COH on the
CHO, yes.
end.
Yes, CHO at the end. It shows that you're having a carbon that is double bonded to an oxygen and is still bonded to another hydrogen. The CHO there, the TO or the CHO tells you that this is what? The condensed formula of an aldehyde. Cool. Now, what if an aldehyde is a branch? There's nothing special about that, guys. You now know how to name a branched compound. You just need to go and find the branch. But remember, guys, when you are naming this, you're gonna say that this is your carbon 1, the one that has got the functional group. This is like your formyl group, a carbon double bonded oxygen bonded to a hydrogen, right? So that's your formyl group. So from your formyl group, you're gonna say that this is carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4. The numbers are now important for you to indicate the position of the substituent or of the branch. In this case, which branch are we having for compound A?
Methyl.
We're having a methyl, right? So at the point here, we're having a CH3. This is a CH3, guys. I won't expand it anymore, but you guys can see that a CH3 is a methyl group. Methyl group. So basically it's found on carbon number 2. You must tell us that this is on carbon number 2. We have a methyl group On carbon number 2, we have a methyl group, and then the total number of carbons here, there are 4. So you must have a but there. Should I say this is butan 1-al?
No.
No, you never indicate the position of the functional group because it's always on carbon 1. So this is 2-methyl butanal. What about B? Is this an aldehyde, guys? B. Does it look like an aldehyde?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes, sir.
Oh yes, it is indeed, because you're having what? A carbon, double bond oxygen, and then it's bonded to hydrogen. Sometimes you guys never see things if they are drawn in a strange way. But this is a carbon, double bond oxygen, bonded to a hydrogen. That's still the formal group. Okay? So now if we're gonna name this, what are we gonna say? What is this going to be, the name? Because this is carbon 1, of course, this is carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5. What is the name of this compound? Yes, Matlodi?
3-methyl
3-methyl pentanal. So do you guys see that at the carbon number 3, on carbon 3, this carbon, which is carbon 3, we have got a CH3 group bonded there. We've got a CH3, and this CH3, guys, we always say that it is the what? It is the methyl group, because it is not part of the parent chain. It is a side chain consisting of 1 carbon and 3 hydrogens. So this is 3-methyl pentanal. What about this one? Let's go. We're climbing the mountain. This is C. Let's just try to write the structural formula, the complete one. We have a CH3 here, so we have a carbon bonded to 3 hydrogens. Then we have a CH2, means that we've got a carbon bonded to 2 hydrogens. Then we've got another CH2, it's a carbon bonded to 2 hydrogens. Then we've got a carbon bonded to hydrogen, and there's a bracket there. What is the bracket for here? We're here, guys. Now explain the bracket. What's happening? We've been doing brackets for the entire session. It's an ethyl group. So this CH2CH3 is an ethyl branch. So it means that all of this is bonded to this carbon, this previous carbon here. So we have a carbon and it's bonded to hydrogen. Then it is bonded to this group, which is CH2. That's a carbon with 2 hydrogens, and CH3. That's a carbon with 3 hydrogens. That's known as an ethyl group. And then this is bonded to CH2, as you can see. This is CH2. Then it's bonded to CHO. So this CHO, we already said that that's how you recognize that this is the functional group for aldehydes. So it's a carbon that is double bonded to an oxygen, and it is also bonded to a hydrogen. Now give the name of this compound. Give the IUPAC name of the compound provided. Give the IUPAC name. Yes, Sam.
Isn't it going to be 3-ethanol? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
3 what? Please read. 3 what?
Ethanol. 3-ethanol.
Ethanol. 3 ethanol, like this. 3 ethanol.
No, sir. Not like that, sir.
In which way?
Like in ethyl, sir. Yeah.
Ethyl. Please, I know that you don't wanna pronounce this correctly. You're just doing it deliberate. This is ethyl. I know you can pronounce it. It's ethyl. So remember, guys, your carbon number 1, it is always the one having the double bond oxygen and stuff. So this is your carbon 1. This is your carbon 2. This is your carbon 3. This is your carbon 4. This is carbon 5. This is carbon 6. This is your parent chain, because you can see that number 1, it has got the longest number of carbons in it. This is your parent chain. And number 2, it has got what? It has got the carbon that is having the functional group. Would it be correct if I highlighted this chain, guys, this other one, and say that this is my chain, this blue one? This one.
No.
Why would this not be the parent chain, this one?
Because the mother chain must have the attachment of the functional group.
Yes, it must have a carbon that is having the functional group. But look at it, the carbon having the functional group is so far away from this, and that won't be correct. That will be wrong. So this is your parent chain. It is having 6 carbons in it, and it is having an aldehyde there. So this is 3-ethyl. Continue, Sam.
Hexanal, sir.
Hexanal. So this is 3-ethyl hexanal. Now I'll come back with my question again and again. What is the AN standing in for there? What is the AN for?
Saturated.
Saturated. So it simply means that there are only single bonds between carbon atoms. You see, guys, that this is easy once you practice more of it. What about D? Let's just write the structural formula of D and say that this is a carbon having 3 hydrogens. You write the structural formula first, guys. Don't take chances and try to interpret this in a wrong way. This is CH2. This is CH2. There are 2 of these CH2s. And then this is CH. Then now there's a bracket there. I want someone to tell me what's in the bracket. This C2H5. What is it?
Ethyl.
It's still ethyl group, right? But what's the difference between the ethyl that we wrote at first and this ethyl? What's the difference? Like if I say CH3CH2, you guys say that this is an ethyl group if it's in a bracket like this, and you're also saying that C2H5 is still an ethyl group. What's the difference between these two formula? What's the difference?
The
General?
Yes, sir.
General, really general.
Sir. Sir. The second one, sir, you can find it easily on a general formula, but the first one, it's a structure, sir.
This one is a condensed formula of the ethyl group. This one is condensed. It's a condensed. It tells you that we've got a carbon bonded to 3 hydrogens and a carbon bonded to 2 hydrogens. This one, it only tells you the total number of carbons, which is 2, and the total number of hydrogens when you add this 3 and 2, which is 5. What do you say this formula is? What is the name of this formula if that one is condensed?
It's a molecular formula.
It's a molecule. It's a molecule, not the general one. The general one, it must be expressed using N, something like CN, H2N, something, something, something. But this one is a molecular formula, but it still refers to the same ethyl group. We're still talking about the same ethyl group. Are you guys together?
Yes.
Yes, so this is still an ethyl group. Is still an ethyl group, which is just 2 carbons bonded to 5 hydrogens in total. And then after that, we've got CH22. So it means we've got these CH2s, these 2 CH2s. And after that, we've got the CHO. This is the C double bond oxygen bonded to hydrogen. So you guys can confirm that this is indeed the aldehyde. It is an aldehyde indeed. Now my question comes here now. Go ahead and tell me what is the name of this aldehyde? Shadrach?
Sir, it's 4-ethyl heptanol. 4
Yes.
Ethyl heptanol. Heptanol. Yes.
Remember, guys, it's not heptanol, it's heptanal, AL at the end there. To show that this is an aldehyde, we must end with the anal at the end there. ANAL. Where the AN there, it means that this is saturated, this AN. So now if you guys can just confirm that, you guys can see that here we are forced to say that this is our formal group. So our carbon number 1 will be on the formal group. This will be carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, this is carbon 5, this is carbon 6, this is carbon 7. This is your parent chain because it has got the highest number of carbons. If you were to turn here and you say that this is now your parent chain, and you say that this is your parent chain, would it be correct? This one? Because it still has the functional group. Is it the correct parent chain, this one?
No, sir.
What would be wrong with it?
Because it will mean our side chain is gonna be a propane instead of ethanol.
Yes, but the biggest problem is that this chain doesn't have the highest number of carbons. Although it does have the functional group, but it's not the longest possible chain, because here you're having 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 carbons in this chain that are highlighted in blue, but the other chain that we made at first is having 7 of them. So this shows enough that this is not the longest one, although it does have the functional group, but it is not the longest chain. That is why this one is the most correct one. Do you guys see that?
Yes.
Yeah, we did the naming of all other homologous series such as alkanes, alkenes, alkynes, haloalkanes, alcohols, as well as carboxylic acids, and as well as aldehydes as well. So we did 7 homologous series. Now we are on to the 8th one, which is the ketones. Remember, guys, we've got 9 in total, right? So we've got 9 homologous series, or we've got 9 different groups of organic compounds. So now we are now on ketones. Remember, guys, ketones and aldehydes, they are very similar to one another, very similar, because ketones and aldehydes, both of them, they've got this carbon double bond oxygen. So they all have this carbon double bond oxygen, but now the position where you find the carbon double bond oxygen is what makes them different. Okay, that is why you guys should be very careful before you decide to say that this is a ketone or this is an aldehyde. What did we say for how did you say we identify ketones? Yes, Olive.
So a ketone is a carbonyl which is bonded to 2 carbon atoms on each side. That's a ketone.
Yes, so this carbonyl group, or this C double bond oxygen group, it is bonded to 2 other carbons. So basically, this carbon that is having the double bond to oxygen is bonded to 2 other carbons next to it. Unlike in an aldehyde, the carbon with the double bond oxygen is bonded to a hydrogen, something like this. Something like this. Double bond oxygen bonded to a hydrogen. These are 2 different things, guys, because here we still have the carbon double bond oxygen. The difference is just that this carbon that is double bonded to oxygen, on one side it is bonded to a carbon chain indeed, but on the other side it is bonded to a hydrogen, unlike the one of ketones, which is found between 2 carbons, or which is bonded to 2 other carbons. So you guys won't have a problem identifying the functional group of ketones, right? You won't confuse it with aldehydes.
Yes, sir.
All right. So with that in mind, you guys can all recognize that all of these are ketones. So the simple rule in naming simple ketones, the ones that are unbranched, they don't have any branches, these ones. They are very simpler to name. So to name these simple ketones, you need to follow the standard IUPAC rules, the one that we have discussed in our prior sessions. Basically, you tell us of the substituent. You tell us of the substituent. You tell us of the root name, which tells us the number of carbons in the parent chain, and then you give us the suffix, which tells us the homologous series. So what is the suffix for ketones? Like, what is the last part of the name for ketone? All their names. What are they gonna have their suffix? Yes, no?
So it's an ONE.
Yes, it's an O-N-E. It's a 1 at the end, O-N-E. So we want an own sound when we pronounce it, just like a ketone. Just from the word ketone, the O-N-E sound at the end, it is the one that tells us that this compound is a ketone. Okay, let's name, for example, the first one, guys. This is the smallest ketone that you can ever have, this one. Okay, its common name is known as acetone. This is the smallest ketone that you can have. You can never have a ketone having 2 carbons. Can you guys ever have that? A ketone having 2 carbons? No, because
sir.
basically the moment you try to make that ketone that is having 2 carbons like this, it doesn't become a ketone. Instead, it's a what? It's an aldehyde, because this carbon that is double bonded to oxygen, it must be bonded to 2 other carbons for it to become a ketone. So we need to have at least 3 carbons minimum for us to make our ketone. So this is the smallest ketone that we have. Its common name is acetone. It is used in your nail polish remover. If you are a girl and you are removing cutex, basically you use this compound known as acetone. So I want us guys to name it the IUPAC way, not just the common way. So here, guys, we still follow the standard IUPAC rules, of course, but now for us to be able to name here, we only indicate the position of the functional group only if the parent chain has got more than 4 carbons. So when the parent chain has got 3 carbons or 4 carbons or less, basically less than 4 carbons, you cannot mention the position where the functional group is found. Okay, let's say, for example, here you can see that the parent chain is only 1. It's having 1, 2, 3 carbons, right? It's a simple 3 carbon chain. So this 3 carbon chain must have the name propan. We must have propan. The prop, guys, what does it mean? What does the prop mean? The prop part. Yes, or
So that is a 3 carbon molecule.
it's a 3 carbon in the parent chain, right? It's the root name. And then the AN, what does it mean?
Saturated.
It is saturated, means that there are only single bonds between the carbon atoms. So the first thing that you're going to write is propan, first of all. But because the suffix that you know you must have for a ketone, it is O-N-E. So at the end of the name, you must have what? O-N-E. So this is propanone. This is propanone. If you guys write propon, something like let's just try to make this propone. Yes, something like this. Would this ever be correct, guys? Here, this propone, because you write the suffix O-N-E indeed, and you indicate that there are 3 carbons. But what is missing here? What is missing? The AN, right? To show that it's separate. Yes, to show that it's saturated. So once you just write your prop alone, you are assuming that these carbons they don't have they've got multiple bonds, such as a double bond or a triple bond. But this AN, it signifies that we have got what? We have got only single bonds between carbon atoms. Cool. Okay, why do we guys not name according to numbers? Why don't we indicate the position of the functional group for this particular compound? The first one. Yes, Orif.
Sir, because you don't indicate it, sir, because it's the smallest, it's the smallest ketone that can be made, because if you have 2, it's going to be a completely different functional group.
Yeah, so basically, guys, for this one,
that adds up.
I think it kind of adds up. If you try your best to shift this carbon double bond oxygen, maybe to put it at the beginning to try make the position to be different, it will never work, guys. That will change. It will no longer be a ketone. Instead, it will become an aldehyde. When you just say, I want to just shift my things and try to put the double bond here at the end. Once you put the double bond at the end, it's no longer a ketone anymore. So the only position for this to be a ketone, the only position this carbon double bond oxygen must be on carbon number 2. Otherwise, there's no other way. Even if you put it on carbon number 1, the carbon double bond oxygen, it will become a what? An aldehyde. That is why there's no need to really indicate that this is a propan-2-on. There's no need to show that this is found on carbon number 2 because there, that's the only option that's there for it to be a ketone. Do you guys kind of get the sense?
Yes.
Yes. So basically, that is why for a 3-carbon ketone, we just name it propanol without mentioning the numbers. And then let's go to the second one. The second one is a ketone having 4 carbons in its parent chain. I think that is pretty clear. This one as well, 1, 2, 3, 4. When you name this, you are going to name this as what? Are we going to say this is butan-2-on? Are we going to indicate the position? If we're going to number, how are we going to number first of all before I number the wrong way? How are we going to number the carbons? Yes, Orifa?
From the right to the left.
Why?
So because your functional group, which is the carbonyl, will have the lowest number.
Yes. Exactly. So basically you must count from the carbon that is most closest to your functional group. Here is the functional group here. So basically you count from the carbon that is the most closest to the functional group. So in this case, you need to count from the right to the left. So do we need to indicate that now this is butan? Because we're going to write butan because definitely we're having 4 carbons and all of them, they're having a single bonds between them. So it's butan. AN, it means that they are saturated as we did in the previous namings. Is there need to say butan-2-on to indicate that this carbon double bond oxygen or this carbonyl group is on carbon 2? Is there a need, guys, according to what you think? Why not? Someone said no, someone said yes. Let's start with Shadrach. Why do you think there's a need to indicate the 2? Or there's no need? Why do you think so?
We can't mention the 2, sir, because we have 4 carbons.
Yes, we have 4 carbons. That's the only option, guys. That's the only option. Even if you shift, let's just say you want to restructure your compound. I'm sure you are seeing the carbon double bond oxygen is on carbon number 2. Let's say you want to do some bit of tempering with this compound. You want to write the carbon double bond oxygen first. Let's just say you write something like HCH, and then now I put the double bond first, and then this is carbon, hydrogen, hydrogen, and then carbon, hydrogen, hydrogen. Okay, so here I was trying to shift a bit to just say, let's say this carbon that has got a double bond oxygen, it is on carbon number 3. Basically, this carbonyl group is on carbon number 3. So we had numbered in this way and said this is 1, 2, this is 3, this is 4. So what did we do, guys? Here we just attempted to shift this carbon double bond oxygen to put it here. So now my question is, doesn't this change, guys, to be butan-3-on? Doesn't this change to be butan-3-on?
So no.
What's the problem with the butan-3-on? Yes, Sam.
Because you that
Yes,
means you're
Sam.
counting.
Yes, Sam.
So you said we name from the closest, sir.
Yes, we name from the
Getting
closest. Yes, so once you number the carbons from this one, you're already very far away from the functional group that you have shifted. I'm sure you've shifted it. We just shifted it here to carbon number 3 to try and tamper with our compound and see if we can get it to be at any other position. But now when you do the numbering here, obviously you would have to number from where? From this carbon that is most closest to the functional group, which is 1, 2, 3, 4. This is still going to be butan-2-on. So it means that the only combination that you can have for this to be a ketone, it is just butanone. You don't have to mention the 2. Anyway, okay, let's just say I shift, guys. Let's say I want this carbon double bond oxygen. Let me shift it and put it on carbon 1. What will happen? Let's say I don't want it to be on carbon 2 anymore. Let's just try to shift it and see if we can get another ketone. Can we? Can we, guys? If I say I shift it and put it on carbon 1, this double bond is now on carbon 1, and then the rest follows. Can you get another ketone? Yes, no?
No, sir.
Why not?
Because
Let's say I wanna just give.
it would be it would be an alcohol, sir.
Alcohol.
Oh no, sir, no, sir. Sorry. No, it's can, sir, but I can't explain. It's can part.
It can't. What is this, guys? What is this new functional group after shifting? Let's hear from Sam. What is this?
Aksama ketone amanto. Carboxylic acid, sir.
Aye, wrong. Sam, guys. Carboxylic acid, are you guys guessing the functional group? A carboxylic acid is like this. There's an OH here. Is there any OH that you are seeing here in this compound?
No, sir.
No.
Bandisile, let's hear Bandisile.
It will be an aldehyde.
It will be an aldehyde, guys. And can you not recognize functional group after doing so many millions of exercises on recognizing functional groups? You guys don't practice. This is an aldehyde's functional group because you've got a carbon that is bonded to a hydrogen, and that very carbon is double bonded to an oxygen. So here, even if we attempted to shift our carbon that has got a double bond, to shift it to the first carbon, maybe we want to write it as butan 1-one. That's impossible, because basically this will become an aldehyde. It's no longer a ketone. So what I'm trying to say by this is to say that for this ketone that has got 4 carbons, the only possible name will have the carbonyl group on carbon number 2, or it will have the functional group on carbon number 2. Even if we try to shift it to carbon number 3, when we renumber in the correct manner, that carbon 3 will now become carbon 2 again. So it's bringing the same name. If we try to shift it to carbon 1 to make this something like butan 1-one, that is wrong, because this is no longer a ketone, it's an aldehyde. Don't you guys see that? Are we not seeing it? You guys, this thing of you not practicing is gonna be a very big problem. When we have a functional group like this, you see it. If it's like this is an aldehyde. But if I start with an H and then I say C double bond O, you now say it's a different thing now. It's because you guys don't practice. If you're practicing enough, you would see all of these problems. There are many millions of problems that you can attempt. But because you guys are waiting for me to give you my simple problems, you guys are going to be in big trouble. Okay, so the only name that you can give to this is what? Is butanone. Just call it butanone. So there's no need to be specific about the position, because even if we try to shift this carbon double bond oxygen or this carbonyl group, even if we try to shift it, no matter how we try to shift it, it will still give us the same. So there's no need to say butan 2-one. But I don't think they would penalize you if you wrote that, but there's no need. You just write butanone. That is why I said to you guys, for ketones that are unbranched, you only indicate the position of the functional group for a parent chain with more than 4 carbons. Once we have more than 4 carbons, that's when we can have different positions. Let's look at this compound number 3, for example. This compound number 3, if we write the complete structural formula, this is a carbon bonded to 3 hydrogens. This is a CH3, and then this is a CH2, and then this is a C that is double bonded to oxygen. This is a C bonded to 2 hydrogens, and then this is a C bonded to 3 hydrogens. Here we go. So this is our ketone. For this one, you can find your carbon double bond oxygen at this position, or you can find it at this position, or you can find it at this position. So basically here you must definitely indicate the position. Once your parent chain or your longest chain has got more than 4 carbons in it, then you do what? Then you indicate the position of the what? Of the functional group. The position of the carbonyl group, which is the carbon double bond oxygen. Are we guys together?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
So now if I'm gonna count, am I gonna count from right to left or from left to right?
Choose.
Both is the same, right? It's my choice. Anyhow, because if I say this is carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5, even if I count from right to left, my carbon double bond oxygen, which is my carbonyl group, which is our functional group in this case, it will always be at the same position, which is position number 3. So to name this, I'm going to say that I'm having 5 carbons, so that must give me a pentan. 5 carbons, all of them, they are saturated because they are having what? Single bonds between themselves. We don't have any carbon double bond oxygen. This double bond, this double bond that we're having here, it is with oxygen, Jal. It's not with the carbons. So this molecule is still saturated because there are only single bonds between carbon atoms. So this carbon double bond oxygen, guys, don't mistake it for an unsaturated compound. Are we guys clear?
Yes.
So this is pentan 3-one. So this is pentan 3-one. You mentioned the pent for 5 carbons in the longest chain. The AN is for saying that this is a saturated. The carbons have got single bonds between themselves. There are only single bonds between 2 consecutive carbon atoms in the parent chain. And then after that, you indicate the position of the functional group, which is carbon number 3, and then the suffix is ONE. Yes, Sam?
So it's going to be okay if I also say 3-hyphen pentanone.
Yes, it's still acceptable to say 3-pentanone. You can otherwise rewrite this as 3-pentanone. You can just take out the 3 and write it outside to minimize problems, or to make your name a bit neater. 3-pentanone. It's easy to call 3-pentanone than pentan 3-one. Okay, so 3-pentanone is better calling it. Okay, let's look at the 4th compound, guys. Quickly name it. What's the name of the 4th compound? Compound number 4. Yes, Shedrack.
Is 3-heptanone.
So this is 3-heptanone. Do you guys all agree with that?
No, sir.
No.
What's wrong with the name? Yes, Sam?
We find the functional group in carbon atom number 4, sir.
Yes, let's look carefully, guys. This is carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5, carbon 6, and carbon 7. Even if you count like from right to left, this is still going to be carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, carbon 5, and then carbon 6 and carbon 7. Do you see that, guys? If we count from left to right or from right to left, we are still going to get our carbon that is having the double bond oxygen, or this carbonyl group. It is still going to be found on carbon number 4. Do you guys realize that?
Yes.
Yes, so basically our carbonyl group, it is found on carbon number 4. So this is supposed to be 4-heptanone, because there are 7 carbons in total. We must have an heptan there. Heptan, the AN, it means they are saturated, and then the ONE means that this is a ketone. Or you can write this as heptan 4-one. So you are indicating that your ketone's functional group, which is the carbonyl group, is found on carbon number 4. Easy, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. All right. What about naming the branched ketones? Ketones that have got a branch, or a methyl group, an ethyl group, any alkyl branch. We only use alkyl branch for this one, not any other substituents. Let's look at ketone number 1. Let's look at ketone number 1. Can you guys identify the longest carbon chain there? How many carbons does it have?
5, sir.
5, right? So it can be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Although it's not drawn in a straight way, but you guys can see that these are 5 consecutive carbons. This is a chain of 5 consecutive carbons. Okay, so these are 5 consecutive carbons. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then from here, when we are going to number, are we going to number from left to right or from right to left? Yes, Sam?
Right to left, sir.
Right to left. For what reason?
The functional groups must be closer.
So this is the functional group. So when we number, we're gonna number from this carbon that is closer to the functional group. So this is going to be our carbon 1. And then since this is carbon 1, this is carbon 2, this is carbon 3, this is carbon 4, this is carbon 5. Okay, so since this is the parent chain, are we having any other carbons that are not part of this chain or that are not highlighted in this red chain of ours? Are we having any other carbon that is not part of the parent chain?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Where are we finding that carbon?
Carbon 3.
So on carbon 3, it is bonded to a carbon that is bonded to 3 hydrogens. So this is more like a CH3 group because it's a carbon bonded to 3 hydrogens. What is the name of this group? This alkyl group?
Methyl, sir.
Methyl, right? Methyl group.
Yes.
So now when you name, you just tell us, you indicate the position of the ethyl group, the methyl group I mean. In this case it's found on 3 because that's the standard IUPAC rule. You start with the substituents. In this case you're gonna start with 3 and you tell us that this is methyl. And then after that you name the entire chain. The entire chain is having 5 carbons. So that's going to be pentan. You're gonna write pentan. Then do we need to indicate the position of the functional group here?
Yes.
No,
Yes.
sir.
Oh, no need to indicate it. Why not, Sam?
Because sir, you said it's on carbon number 2, sir. We don't.
No, we don't indicate it. We don't indicate it if we have got 4 or less carbons. But once we've got 5 or more carbons, you must indicate the carbon double bond oxygen. Here, look at this. If you shift this carbon double bond oxygen and you put it here, will it still have the same position? Shift it to carbon number 3. Will it still be the same compound?
No, sir. Oh, okay.
Now, where are you guys putting your ears? Guys, that's why I wrote the statement and even highlighted it. Who said you only indicate the position of the functional group for a parent chain with more than 5 carbons. In this case, our parent chain is having 5 carbons in total. More than 4 carbons, I meant. So this is definitely more than 4 carbons. So you must indicate the position. Because if you don't indicate the position, you're gonna get it wrong. Are we clear?
Yes, sir. I get it now, sir.
Yes, so this is 3-methyl pentan 2-one. 3-methyl pentan 2-one. What about B? Can you guys try naming B? Can you guys try naming B? Or should I write the structural formula? Write the structural formula first on your own and then try naming it. Yes, no?
So it would be propanone.
Propanone.
If I
Did you write the structural
so it
formula?
would be- No, sir.
Right, take your time, guys. No, that's the problem. Guys, you cannot just name everything from the condensed formula. The condensed formula, you get, like, it takes time for you to get used to naming things just by looking at the condensed formula. Write the structural formula completely straight and show all the bonds. After writing the structural formula, that's when you can name properly. Yes, Sam.
I think so it's going to be 4-methyl 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pentan dash 2 on 1. Not all 1.
Pentan dash 2-on, something like this.
Yes, sir.
Are we all getting the same name, guys? Anyone getting any other name that is different from what we have found with Sam here?
Sir, can you please give us a few seconds?
Okay.
Yes, we're getting the same as what Sam got.
Yes, guys, this shouldn't take time. Just gonna say that this is your longest carbon chain, and then you number your carbons. In this case, is from left to right. I think all of us got that right, because we are counting the carbons from the carbon that is closest to the functional group. So in this case, we're gonna say that this is your carbon 1, carbon 2, carbon 3, carbon 4, and carbon 5. So on carbon 5, we see a side chain there. We see a methyl group. That is why we write 4, and then the name of the alkyl group is going to be methyl, because it is consisting of 1 carbon bonded to 3 hydrogens. So on carbon 4, we've got a methyl group, 4 methyl, and then the longest chain has got 5 carbons, so that's the pent. And then the AN means that the carbons, of course, they are saturated there. And then you indicate the position 2, where you find your functional group for ketones, which is the carbon double bond oxygen, and then the suffix is on. Yes, Angel?
So actually you can see like on the condensed formula, after the bracket we've got a 2. So doesn't it mean like we have 2 methyl?
We have 2 of them, but they are found at the end. So one of them will be part of the parent chain. Okay, let's look carefully at how I wrote my structural formula. Let's just wrap this part alone so that you can see how it will be like. Okay, so here we go. So do you see that here we have written the structural formula for the first portion, which is carbon 1, this is carbon 1, this is carbon 2, this is carbon 3. After carbon 3, we have got this, which is our carbon 4. It is bonded to H. Can you see that, Angel? It's written CH. Do you see that?
Yes, sir.
So it's a carbon bonded to a hydrogen. Okay, let me just put this hydrogen here deliberately. But it is bonded to 2 methyl groups. This 2CH3, it simply means that it is bonded to 2 methyl groups. So I will have a CH3 here. Here is a carbon bonded to 3 hydrogens. I will also have another CH3 here, a carbon bonded to 3 hydrogens. Now, if I want to name this compound, I have to identify the longest carbon chain. And for me to do that, I have to look at which chain has got most carbon. Okay, so you will be wrong if you said that this is the longest carbon chain. Why would you be wrong with this? Why would you be wrong if you say it is the longest? Want to tell why would it be wrong? Because I can see your idea of saying that we've got 2 methyl groups, but now why would this chain, this parent chain, be wrong? Why would it be the wrong parent chain? Yes, no.
It's because it's not the parent. It's the reason why it's not the parent chain is because it's there's other carbons that can add up to being a parent chain.
Yes, so there are other carbons that can add up to this parent chain. If you highlight your parent chain, it's going to be, you can highlight it until here and say this is your parent chain. This is definitely your parent chain because it has got way more carbons than the first one. So this will be your carbon 4 and this will be your carbon 5. So do you realize that, Angel, what is a methyl group here according to the condensed formula? That methyl group, it will become part of the parent chain because it is at the end. It is found on the carbon at the end. Vele, when you put a methyl group on a carbon that is found at the end, that methyl group will be part of the parent chain. Notice how it came to be.
Yes, I do. So I noticed I made a silly mistake. Thank you, sir.
Yes. So guys, whenever you have got a methyl group at a terminal carbon, so it's known as a terminal carbon. The carbon that is found at the end of the chain is known as a terminal carbon. This one is a terminal carbon. Even this one is a terminal carbon. So if you put a methyl group on a terminal carbon, that is why I say there's no such thing as a name that starts with 1 methyl, because you cannot put a methyl group on the terminal carbon or on the first carbon of the chain, because that methyl group will also be counted as part of the parent chain as well. So this will be 4-methyl pentan 2-on. So you guys will name this during the break, and then we'll come after 10 minutes. You give the IUPAC name of these ones. Oh, C is already having numbers on it, like you. But basically you will name A, B, C, and then after that you write the structural formula of these ones. We'll try to do a couple of some after 10 minutes. Hey Lapo, I know that you've been enjoying this wonderful video and most likely you've been enjoying watching this handsome face in front of you, but sorry ladies, I'm taken. I just here to tell you that Educate is on the road to 100,000 subscribers by the end of 2025. So please click the subscribe button and click the notification bell so that you get notifications whenever I post new videos. I want you guys to pass. Okay, so if you make my dream true, I reach 100k subscribers, I will make your dreams come true. I will even get you to varsity. I will get you with 7 distinctions. Yes. I say to you, give the IUPAC name for each of the following ketones. Already you've been told that these are ketones, so you guys just give me the name. What is the name of the first compound? What name did you find? You see there?
It's 3-methyl butan 2-ONE.
So you found a 3-methyl and then
Butan. Dash 3 dash 2.
Dash 2.
2, sir.
Okay. Like this.
Yes.
So this is 3-methyl butan 2-O. Did you guys all get the same thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so there's no need to rewrite our compound because you guys got the same thing. Yes, sir.
So I wanna experiment. It's just a simple question. I don't know, but if ever say I said 3-methyl dash butan dash 2 dash butan 1. Still okay, sir.
If you said
that's an experiment, mister. It's an experiment, mister.
Yes,
I said 3 dash methyl dash 2 dash butanol. Yeah.
Butanol. It's not really experimenting, you know, it's just another way of writing the name. But yeah, I will call it
correct.
Yeah, it's still correct. We'll call it experimenting for your own terms. Yeah, according to how you would like us to call it. But basically, this is 3-methyl 2-butanol, or you can say 3-methyl butan 2-O. So remember, guys, this 2-O. If you don't wanna write the 2 inside this butanol compound, you just take it out and you write it first as in like 2, then you write butanol alone. I think that is the basic thing that I taught you when we began, right? What about B? How did you guys find B? What did you guys find on B? Yes, Shadrach.
So on compound B, I found it's 2-methyl.
2-methyl
dash 3 dash pentanol.
Dash 3 dash pentanol. Did you guys all find the same thing?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Bandisile, did you find the same thing as well?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, another way of writing this, you can say that this is 2-methyl, and then now you're gonna say pentan 3-O. This one is the most safest one, guys. If you don't understand this one of like taking out the 3, you just say pentan, then you write the position of the functional group, which is position 3, and then you write the suffix ONE. Our C was way easier, guys. The numbers are already provided for you. What is the name of C? What did you guys find? What is the name of C that you guys found? Yes, Shadrach.
On C, we found it's pentan 2-on.
Just pentan 2-on. Did everyone get the same thing?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Another alternate way of writing this, an alternative way,
will be 2-pentanone.
2-pentanone. Do you guys still struggle with the basic naming, but because it's still the same now for the ketones? Never gets complicated. Let's look at the structures, the structural formula. Writing the structural formula of the following ketone. So I'm going to, we're not going to do all of them, of course, but I want you, instead of doing this one, 4.4 dimethyl 2-hexanone, I will give you this one, and I want to hear from you guys how we can write this. Let's just say this is C2. Okay, let's just say C4. This is C4 H8O. Okay, 4-methyl hexanone. Did you guys were you guys able to write the structural formula of 4-methyl hexanone? Yes, Sam.
So it wasn't 1,4 there, sir.
No, the one wasn't what, it wasn't 1,4. It was a mistype there. This was methyl. It wouldn't be 1.4 without a dimethyl there. I'm sure you guys, and you already know, guys, that you cannot have a methyl group on carbon number 1. I've been like talking about that the entire time. You can never have a methyl group on carbon 1. So once you see anything like that, you already know it's an alarming thing is wrong. Yes, sir.
Okay, sir. Therefore, you will start doing your longest chain, which is 5, sir.
5.
6.
6. So this is 1,
no, sir.
2, 3, 4, 5, 6, right?
Yes, sir.
Are they all saturated? Are they all saturated? The carbons, the compound, is it saturated?
Yes, sir.
Yes. We just say from the name, this AN from the name tells us that this is a saturated compound. And then?
Therefore, so you put your functional group on carbon atom number 3.
Okay, so let's just number our carbons like this and say that this is our carbon number 2 and put a functional group there, which is our double bond oxygen on the carbon here. And then
3, sir.
On carbon 3. Okay, so this carbon, right? So on this third carbon, I'll just remove the number and put the double bond oxygen. Yeah.
And you put the methyl group in carbon atom 4.
So on carbon atom number 4, we're gonna put the methyl group. And then
you put your hydrocarbons there, sir. Your hydrogens here.
Yes, so I put my hydrogens all over so that each and every carbon has got 4 bonds surrounding it. Do you guys all see it?
Yes, sir.
Here we go. So this is your 4-methyl 3-hexanone. Okay. What about B? What's the attempt of writing the structure formula of B?
So you start by writing 5 carbons.
5 carbons.
We name them.
We number them. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Yes.
And on carbon number 3, we have our functional group.
On carbon number 3, we have got our functional group, our double bond oxygen.
Then on carbon number 2, we have our dimethyl.
What does that di mean in this context?
It means there are 2 methyls, the other one on top, the other one on down.
Yes, so we have got 2 methyl groups. So one at the bottom here, another one ought to be at the top. So this is a
Yes.
methyl group. Then
And then we put our hydrogens on the carbons to have 4 carbon, to have 4 of
4 bonds in
bonds.
total. Yes, so we're gonna just put our hydrogens to each and every carbons so that at least each and every carbon has got 4 bonds in total. 4 bonds in total. Okay, cool. What about C? I want you guys to do C. We won't do D. C4H8O. This one. I already told you to write the structural formula of each of the following ketones. First of all, is this a ketone? Let's start there. Bandisiri.
It's not a ketone, sir,
Why not?
because the O is at the end.
Really? Angel?
But
It is a ketone, sir.
Okay, but Bandisile says it's not because the O is at the end. What to do about that?
I think, sir, that's how the general formula is going to be written. Because the general formula is CnH something, but then O is at the end.
Yes, well, guys, this is a molecular formula that you're having here. This is a molecular formula. This is not a condensed formula, Bandisile. If you had a condensed formula, something that will give you something like maybe they say CH3, CH2, CH2, and then after the CH2 they say CHO. You would say that the O is at the end because the condensed formula, it shows you each and every hydrogen and how many, each and every carbon and how many hydrogen it has. Okay, this is a condensed formula. You can say that this O is at the end. But from a molecular formula shows the total number of carbons. In this case, there are 4 carbons. The total number of hydrogens, in this case, there are 8 hydrogens. The total number of oxygen, in this case, there is only 1 oxygen. So this follows the general trend or the general pattern of a ketone, a general formula, because in a ketone, we know that the number of carbons, N, if the number of carbons is N, the number of hydrogens is going to be what? 2N. It's going to be double the number of carbons. Then we're going to have an oxygen. So it means if I have got a certain number of carbons, for me to find the number of hydrogen atoms in that particular ketone, I have to double it. I have to multiply the number of carbons by 2. So here you can see that we're having 4 carbons and then we're having 8 hydrogen. So this means that the number of carbons has been doubled. Do you guys realize that?
Yes.
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 So basically the number of hydrogen atoms is actually double the number of carbon atoms, and there's an oxygen. That's the general formula for what? For ketones and aldehydes. All of them, they've got the same general pattern. So this can be a ketone or it can be an aldehyde. But because the statement is saying write the structural formula for each of the following ketones, you already know that it's a ketone that has got 4 carbons. Now how to draw it? How to write the structural formula?
So we start by writing the 4 carbons.
We start by writing 4 carbons, right? Because this is 4 carbons in total. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes.
And then say we can number our carbons.
All right. Yes.
So say our functional group, we can either put it on carbon number 2 or on carbon number 3. There's no difference.
Okay, why is there no difference?
Because on ketones, we can only give the position of our functional group if there are more than 4 carbons. So in that instance, it's only 4 carbons.
Yeah. So basically, it won't make any difference, guys. Even if you put it on carbon number 3, when you count in a proper manner, you would have to count from right to left. And that will still give you your functional group being on carbon number 2. I think we've already expressed that at the earlier stage. So this is your butanone. This is the molecular formula for butanone. Is this hard, guys?
No, sir.
Cool. Yes, Angel?
I'm so sorry. Could you please repeat your question?
Where did I lose you? The name of the compound. Angel, where did I lose you? What's your question?
So like my network was a bit shaky, so I couldn't hear after the. I saw that you drew you wrote the structural formula for D. Then I wanna know, so what did you say after that?
Okay, I said for this structural formula, this carbon double bond oxygen, it can only be on carbon number 2. It can never be on any other carbon. Even if you try to shift it, just as we did when we began, if you try to shift it and say, let me put my double bond oxygen here and put hydrogen here and hydrogen here, let me remove one hydrogen there. This is still on carbon number 2, because when you count the carbons, you count from the carbon that is closest to the functional group. So you would have to count like 1, 2, 3, 4. So there's not really a need for you to indicate the position of the carbonyl group for a ketone having 4 carbons only. So this is just your butanone. This is butanone. Is that clear?
Yeah, I think so.
Someone to pray for us, just to thank the Lord for this wonderful session that we had, all the understanding and everything. Anyone who feels the Spirit in him, compelling him to share the words. Yes.
Father, we thank you for this day, Lord. Lord, we thank you that you have helped us through all the lesson, my Father. Father, we thank you that we will keep on understanding as time goes on. Father, we know that you will help us and we will never forget. In the name of Jesus, Father God, we thank you. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Yeah.